Hey, level casters. Today's lesson takes us to a very important, and sometimes sad, part of human history. World War I. This event changed the world forever, shaping countries, technology, and even how people thought about war. We're going to tell its story, from the small spark that lit the fire to the huge changes it brought. Imagine a time when Europe was like a powder keg full of tension, ready to explode. Countries had formed strong alliances, like promises to help each other if there was trouble. On one side, you had the Triple Entente: France, Russia, and Great Britain. On the other side, the Central Powers: Germany, Austria-Hungary, and later the Ottoman Empire. These alliances were supposed to keep peace, but they actually made the situation more dangerous. Everyone was building up their armies and navies, making new weapons, and feeling very proud of their own nations. This feeling, called nationalism, was very strong. People believed their country was the best and should have more power. Also, countries were competing for colonies around the world, which caused more arguments. So, by 1914, Europe was a place where many countries had disagreements, strong alliances, and powerful militaries. It was like a giant chessboard, with all the pieces in place, just waiting for the first move. This complex mix of alliances, nationalism, and military buildup created a very unstable situation, where a small problem could quickly become a very big one. The spark that set off this powder keg happened on June 28, 1914, in a city called Sarajevo. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who was going to be the next Emperor of Austria-Hungary, was visiting the city with his wife. A young Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip shot and killed them both. This act was terrible, and Austria-Hungary was very angry. They blamed Serbia for the attack. Remember those alliances? This is where they became a problem. Austria-Hungary decided to punish Serbia and declared war on them on July 28. But Serbia had an ally, Russia. Russia started preparing its army to help Serbia. This made Germany, an ally of Austria-Hungary, very nervous. Germany told Russia to stop, but Russia didn't. So, Germany declared war on Russia on August 1. Then, because Russia and France were allies, Germany also declared war on France on August 3. To attack France quickly, Germany decided to march its army through Belgium. Belgium was a neutral country, meaning it didn't take sides. Great Britain had promised to protect Belgium's neutrality. When Germany invaded Belgium, Great Britain declared war on Germany on August 4. Suddenly, almost all the major European powers were at war. It happened very quickly, like a chain reaction. People at the time thought the war would be over in a few months. They imagined their soldiers would be home by Christmas. They were wrong. The war quickly turned into something nobody expected, something much longer and more destructive. The initial excitement and belief in a quick victory soon faded as the reality of modern warfare became clear. Instead of a quick war, it became a long, terrible struggle, especially on the Western Front. Here, soldiers dug long trenches, deep ditches in the ground to protect themselves from enemy fire. These trenches stretched for hundreds of miles across France and Belgium. Life in the trenches was awful. Soldiers lived in mud, surrounded by rats, and faced constant danger from artillery shells and machine guns. Going over the top meant leaving the trench to attack the enemy, often leading to huge losses of life for very little gain. This type of fighting, called trench warfare, caused a stalemate, meaning neither side could win easily. New and terrifying weapons were used for the first time: poison gas, tanks, and airplanes. Poison gas caused terrible injuries and fear. Tanks were slow but could cross difficult ground. Airplanes were first used for scouting, but soon they became fighting machines. At sea, submarines, called U-boats by the Germans, sank many ships, including passenger liners, which angered countries like the United States. While the Western Front was stuck in the mud, fighting also happened on the Eastern Front, where Germany and Austria-Hungary fought against Russia. This front was much larger, with more movement, but also with huge casualties. Battles like the Somme and Verdun saw millions of soldiers killed or wounded. The war became a total war, meaning it affected everyone, not just soldiers. Factories made weapons, women worked in jobs usually done by men, and governments controlled food and other resources. The scale of death and destruction was something the world had never seen before. After 4 long and terrible years, the war finally ended. In 1917, a major event happened: the United States joined the war. German U-boats sinking American ships and a secret German message trying to get Mexico to attack the U.S. pushed America into the conflict. The arrival of fresh American troops and resources gave the Allied powers a big advantage. Also in 1917, Russia pulled out of the war because of its own revolution, but the American entry balanced this out. By 1918, the Central Powers were exhausted. Their soldiers were tired, and their people were suffering from lack of food and supplies. Germany launched one last big attack, but it failed. The Allied forces then began to push back. One by one, Germany's allies surrendered. Finally, on November 11, 1918, Germany signed an armistice, which is an agreement to stop fighting. The guns fell silent at 11 a.m. The war was over. The cost was immense. Around 17 million people, both soldiers and civilians, had died. Millions more were wounded. The map of Europe changed completely. Empires like Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire disappeared. New countries were formed. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war and placed much of the blame and financial burden on Germany. Many historians believe this treaty was too harsh and contributed to the causes of World War II. World War I was a turning point. It showed the terrible power of modern warfare and made people hope for a war to end all wars. It also laid the groundwork for many of the political problems of the 20th century.
That was a really interesting story about World War I.
Yes, it was very detailed. I learned a lot.
The alliances part was confusing at first.
But then it made sense why so many countries joined.
The assassination of Franz Ferdinand was a huge spark.
It's hard to imagine one event starting such a big war.
Trench warfare sounds absolutely terrible.
I can't imagine living in those conditions.
The new weapons like poison gas were truly awful.
It changed how wars were fought forever.
The United States joining the war was a big moment.
Yes, it helped the Allied powers win.
And Russia leaving the war was also important.
It shows how complex the situation was.
The end of the war must have been a huge relief.
But the cost in lives was so tragic.
The Treaty of Versailles had a big impact too.
It shaped the future of Europe.
It's sad that it led to future problems.
Learning about history helps us understand today.
This was a great lesson.
I agree. Keep learning, Levelcasters.
That's all for today. Keep it up, and we'll see you in the next Levelcast lesson.